Hi, it's Dave Oates from FinderMonkey and Joanna North Associates. We've had quite a few questions recently about people wanting advice when they're doing their own search. What's the best way to go about it? So it's been a while since we've done a video about this, so it's a really good one to kind of think about this week. Depends obviously who you're looking for, but there are some basic ways that we would start any search, and we would advise anybody who's looking. So the first thing is make sure you've got the right information, so gather your information together that you have. But it's important when you're looking for somebody that you have enough information to say that when you found them, it's likely to be the right person. So we always kind of advise to start with civil registration records, so things like births, deaths and marriages. So if you know the name of the person you're looking for, we always advise looking for a birth record, because you will find out exactly when and where they were born. You'll have a full name, a middle initial probably, depending on when the birth was at least, so you'll have a bit more detail. But you can also from there usually work out who the person's parents are if you don't know, which can be helpful in the search because it gives you other names to look for. People often can change their name as well, more commonly obviously women, but these days it's possible people change their name as men as well, through civil partnerships. So looking for marriage records can be helpful, although you might struggle to find recent marriage records available online anywhere. The best places to look for civil registration records is places like Ancestry and Find My Past, My Heritage. There are quite a few websites now that have these records. They are all paid sites, so you will have to have a subscription usually to get the information from those. There is a free website which is called Free BMD, so Free Births, Deaths and Marriages. That's quite a good website to use as well if you don't want to pay any money, but you will find the websites perhaps just have a little bit more detail and can be a bit easier to use, I think. But it's certainly worth trying the free one first of all, and see if you can find what you need that way. Once you've kind of gathered all the information together, then usually what you're trying to find is a current address. Sadly, it's always worth checking death records as well if it's been a long time since you've seen the person. Again, the same websites that I mentioned before are very helpful for finding death records, or sometimes just searching online for obituaries as well for more recent deaths can be helpful. But when you're looking for an address, that often can be the tricky part. If you're looking for somebody who's lived at an address for a long time, then finding it online is possible with some websites. The information might not necessarily show as being totally up to date, but if someone's lived there 30 years ago, they may still be there, but you might have to contact the address to get confirmation. I think the current and up-to-date information is often where people really struggle when they're doing their own research, because if somebody's moved around a lot, it can be really difficult to track them down. In those circumstances, without seeking professional help, such as an agency like ourselves, then what we advise is looking at the other connected people, so other relatives that you can identify. Are they perhaps easier to trace, and can you perhaps get in contact with them? Another method that people will often think about these days is the use of social media, but even today either people have very common names, or there are people who do not use social media or have taken steps to kind of keep their profiles very private, so they're not the easiest person to find online. So whilst it can be helpful, it's not always the easiest way, and often I've seen people found somebody online through sites like Facebook, but they don't really use the profile, and you can message them but they don't see the message because it goes into a separate folder if you're not connected to that person, so they may not see it. I know that myself from using Facebook. I don't really read those messages because I don't look on Facebook that often, so they can be helpful, but I would say they're not always the best thing for everybody. It's still really important to think about then how you're going to get in contact with somebody, depending upon your connection with that person. If it's just an old friend and you're just looking to get back in touch, then reaching out would hopefully be quite straightforward. If you're looking for a lost relative, somebody who's a very close relative, but obviously there's been a difficult separation for whatever reason, adoption perhaps being the most complex one of those, but estrangement from birth parents and things for other reasons can happen. That's where the use of an intermediary is really, really recommended, because people need help, support and guidance to approach things in the right way to try and get the best outcome. But also you've got to hold in mind that the people that you're contacting might find the approach very difficult, and if you've got somebody in the middle there that can help them and guide you, then it will often provide you with the best chance of a successful outcome. That's the way we like to think about it. But if you do contact people yourself, we would always advise you, act really thoughtfully and respectfully of their privacy, and everyone has the right to say no to contact, so hold that in mind. Hope that's been helpful. If you do have any questions around this, more than happy to answer them, so get in touch, and if you need any help on finding someone, then just let us know. We'll see how we can help you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.